Hey guys, welcome back. We're coming at you live from E3. We're in the PlayStation E3 booth. And look at who we found here. No less than Mr. Shuhei Yoshida himself, president of PlayStation's Worldwide Studios. Big show for you, sir, and all your teams. My goodness gracious, whether it was God of War, or whether it was Spider-Man, or whether it was Horizon Zero Dawn, The Last Guardian, one thing after another. I mean, we got Farpoint, we got this, we got that, we got Here They Lie, which I think looks great. One game after another. Biggest show yet.
Yeah, I would say so. And I'm so relieved that there are so many people involved to make each one of the games.
Oh, yeah.
And so long that, they've been working toward this, moment to announce the title. And everyone who are involved in these games looks so happy after the show. And I'm so relieved.
Welcome to Between the Joysticks. Press start and then we're off. Nick and John, they've got the sauce. Breaking news and some hot takes. Even if there's some mistakes, Nick is captaining the ship, while John gives thoughts straight from the hip. But when their powers combine, we're all in for a hell of a time. Between the Joysticks is the best. Up to 6 things they will address. Tell all your friends and settle in. Between the Joysticks now begins.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 122 of the video game podcast Between the Joysticks. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, it's good to be back.
Yeah, what happened last week, buddy? What happened?
Well,
why couldn't you figure out how to get this shit working?
Yes, I guess some TCB to start things off.
TCB?
Taking care of business.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Listeners may know our recording studio is at the office. So when John and I are not here, it throws a wrench in things, doesn't make things as convenient. And, we had a scheduling issue with you, and then we had just the worst technical issues that we were just like, let's call it.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and bore the listeners with specifics, but just one of those, like, it should be working. I have no idea why it's not working. For even more clarity, we may have said this, Nick and I work in IT, so, like, you should be able to figure this out. But alas, we weren't able to, so here we are today.
Yeah, no big deal at all.
And maybe it'll benefit the listeners because we got a lot of video games to actually talk about today,
we really do.
Which is kind of rare for us for a video game podcast.
Well, again, this is not our obviously our main source of income. So, we play games.
That's up to you. It could be. It's up to you guys.
We play games when we have the time. So, usually it's, we're fitting a game here or there. But, John's completed a game. I have a whopping 5 games to talk about. So, we got a lot to get to, John.
Nice.
But I wanted to start things off with an email. This is a PlayStation-centric episode. It's the 30th anniversary of PlayStation.
I mean, let's be honest. This is
platform.
a PlayStation-centric podcast. But
most of the time.
Yeah.
But so I wanted to kick things off with a listener email who is giving us his PlayStation 5 Pro impressions, and that is from pal of the show, Will. And let's get into it. Gents, my apologies for taking so long to get this email over to you, but frankly, I've been pretty busy playing the PS5 Pro. It's the only excuse we'd accept. Looks like I've put about 60 hours into it, and thus I've platinumed Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, and I'm currently banging my head against the wall towards the end of Lies of P. I've also tested FF7 Rebirth, Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2 to varying degrees. When the game works, this thing is an absolute beast. Ratchet & Clank, while already an admittedly stunning game, now looks indistinguishable from a modern animated film while running at 55 to 60 FPS. Overall, a stunning experience. I never played Lies of P on the standard PS5, but it has delivered on the promise of eliminating the choice between fidelity and performance. I'm getting high fidelity with a buttery smooth 60 FPS.
Ooh, he's getting high. Ooh.
Rebirth is a transformative experience compared to the base game, while Spider-Man 2 and Alan Wake 2 have varying degrees of issues, but I haven't played enough or since day 2 to know if they have fixed them. All in all, it's pretty much exactly what I asked for when purchasing. Do I recommend it for everyone? Absolutely not. Do I love it? Sure do. I'm also super glad I bought a disc drive the day the Pro was announced. I have a friend trying to get one for his Pro, and it's a mess. John, let's hook this thing up to your giant TV sometime. Pizza on me.
Yeah, that's all cool, Will, but how's Nier Automata? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Will's playing that right now, and that's what I want impressions of. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, dude. I mean, I know I have lots of responsibilities, but you give me a date, and as long as you give me some time in advance, I like pizza. I like video games.
But yeah, his impressions seem to be overall what we've heard over the last month or so, that people have had their hands on this thing. That yeah, the certain games incredible. I've heard that about FF7 Rebirth. Like even Digital Foundry was like, this is
that
like
seems to be
incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, also a lot of games having issues. Jedi Survivor, Alan Wake. I forget what the other one. Silent Hill 2 was another one that was having issues. So it seems like as long as the games get updated properly, that this is how we should be playing games.
Yeah. I would love to know how much of the pro patch / update is up to developer skills or like just specific weirdness, right? Like, no shade to Bloober Team, but they're probably not the most technically advanced team out there, right? You know, Silent Hill 2, which I'll talk about later, it's a great game, but they've had a lot of issues in the past just with technical things. So I wonder, you know, and then Square Enix, right? It's fucking Square Enix,
Right.
so they probably can figure it out. So
Right.
yeah, definitely good to see that there's some anecdotal evidence of all the things you see online of like, yeah, some of them are great, some of them need a little bit of work and whatnot, but good choice of games as well, Will. I know for fans of the show and listeners, Will and I go back a ways. We go back probably 20 years at this point, so I know him pretty well. So good choice of games there, Will. I know you've been liking Liza P, and that makes me happy because I'm a FromSoft junkie. But you know, let us know, like, you know, if you start to see, you know, if maybe you get a couple games in a row and there's no issues, maybe that they're starting to figure it out, but just kind of keep us up to date, keep us posted, and I'm also down to play this on my TV, you know, whenever you want, buddy.
And I have to ask, I asked you before the show we started recording, this does not move the needle still?
No, it doesn't. It's just, I mean, I've really honed in on what tickles my fancy when it comes to video games, and it's not the most frames, it's not the clearest of pictures, it's a gameplay loop that I enjoy. And so if I was getting a PS5 for the first time, this would probably be the one I would buy, but I just can't justify even selling, like, obviously can't really justify the cost wholesale, but even selling my one right now and getting it for, I don't know what, $250-ish, it just, I would feel like if I bought one, I'd be like, Nick, take this. Like you're gonna get more out of it than I will. So for me, no, I don't think it really moves the needle, unfortunately.
Okay, well, we'll see.
But maybe, you know, if we hook it up to the TV and I go, oh shit,
right,
I can see Cloud's peach fuzz, and then
it's all fine and dandy when past games get updated. It's when the future games go, yeah, we're gonna be, what is Ghost of Yotai running on this thing? You know. The next Naughty Dog game, Last of Us Part 3, taking advantage of thing, you know, they'll start piling up reasons like, just, okay, I gotta do this.
Like, and maybe it is a scenario where I see it running in front of my eyeballs and I go, oh, I get it now. But that's kind of my point, though, is like, yeah, future games for sure, but if it's just frame rates and pixel density, I don't know if that's ever enough for me.
Like I said, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Because I remember going to your house, like not having anything to do with OLEDs, whatever, and then seeing you play Cyberpunk, and I'm like, this is what Cyberpunk can look like on an OLED television. I'm like, oh, man.
And it's funny because, like, I remember that exact day, too, and I remember being like, I bet he doesn't think it looks that cool. Because, like, I got so used to it at that point. But,
right.
Yeah, you know, hearing you, probably a year and a half later, going, I still remember it.
yeah, I still do. So,
Yeah.
So we'll see. Thanks for writing in, Will. Again, if anyone else has gotten their hands on the PlayStation 5 Pro, I'd love to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love new hardware.
Yeah, who's your friend that's struggling with the disc drive? We have the same friends. Who is it?
All right, and recommend the show to him.
Actually, I bet I know who it is.
All right, well, that's all I got, because I think, like, as we mentioned, we got a lot of games, a lot of PlayStation to talk about here.
Yeah.
You ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, this is how the show works. We each bring up the 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic. It can be something from you, the listener. You can email in, just like Will did, to betweenthejoysticks@gmail.com. You can DM us on Twitter @joystickspod. And finally, you can comment on our YouTube page at Between the Joysticks. Subscribe to there for updates on the show as well. All right, John. While we were supposed to record an episode the day that the PlayStation brand has turned 30 years old. Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? And I can't. I can't. It's one of those very dates yourself pretty quickly things.
December 3rd, 1994
Yeah.
was the launch of the original PlayStation. And as such, you know, we obviously got the 30th anniversary bundle that we've been talking about. But what did you think of the PlayStation celebration thus far? We got a trailer celebrating PlayStation, which we'll get into a little bit more. But we also got the PlayStation 5 interface update, in which you can update your PlayStation 5 to sound like a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, etc. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the celebration so far in pertaining to the event?
Little good, little bad. Like nothing bad, but like, you know, you texted me the day that this went live, and you said, "Hey, don't read anything. Just boot up your PlayStation next time. You're gonna like it." Unfortunately, I had already read what was gonna happen at that point. But when you sent that to me, maybe I was just in a mood that day. I was just like, "I don't care. Who cares? Whatever." You know. And then I went home and then I played video games and I turned on my PlayStation, and you can't not grin. You can't like. I think I read a lot of posts and things from people like, where they were looking at their phone or something. Like, I gave myself whiplash when I heard it and just looked up at the TV real quick, because like it's just it triggers something in the back of your head.
Can you
and
describe what happens?
Oh, so yeah, sorry for those who don't know. Yes, I got a very nostalgic hit from the PlayStation 1 boot up noise, you know, with that classic white background with the orange diamond, and Sony, I don't even know what it says. Maybe I should. Sony, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's
classic.
It's a very simple little thing, but it does just kind of flash just your feelings in a very quick, intense way with a brand that I frankly can't believe it came out when I was 5. Like, that is the fact that I was a 6-year-old little kid bebopping around, probably having accidents in my pants, and like people were playing PlayStation. It's just, it doesn't compute in my head in this, you know, as I'm sitting here playing PS5. So like the boot up thing, fantastic. I mean, I think you can rope in the controller and the PlayStation 5's look into all this. But that also does kind of lead into my issues with a lot of what they're doing. It's like, can we please just buy these PS5 plate covers? Can we please just let this update stay? Like, that's the big thing, right? For everybody listening, the limited edition PS1, PS2, PS3 boot noise, whatever one you select, it's apparently a limited time thing, which is just, why? Why would you do that? Like, unless if you're going to just turn around and do something extra shitty and be like, "Hey guys, you remember that thing we did for 30? You can get that theme now for $4.99. Like, if you do something like that, fuck off. But I don't know why else you would make it limited. It's a runaway success. People love it. So yeah, that's all great. But outside of that, the 30 years, I mean, I'm not going to expect them to release Shadow drop some game or something like that. But, you know, it does seem like there is like,
so
I don't know. Let us celebrate a little more somehow.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question, is like, are you upset about a lack of any kind of like announcement, any kind of like game announcement alongside this thing to get you excited? I think there's like a Gran Turismo 7 demo out there now.
Oh, well, actually, it's there is the demo, but did you see they have that free-to-play Gran Turismo thing coming?
No.
Yeah, it's called like My First Gran Turismo.
Oh, I thought that's.
Yeah, no, it's kind of cool. It's like just like a Shadow drop free-to-play Gran Turismo experience. So like, if you're kind of on the fence about that, but I mean, I'm not so much upset because I am one of these weirdos that is inundated and lives in the industry, so I know how these cycles work, and I know that you probably wouldn't burn an announcement on a random, you know, an anniversary date, especially with the Game Awards being in 3 days from now. So like, I didn't expect anything like that. If anything, it would have been cool to be like, "Hey guys, we added, you know, some PS1 classics and PS2 classics." Like, you could do something like that, but that's not the type of stuff that gets all me hot and bothered anyway. So I wasn't expecting anything in those
And
lines.
then we got a question from a listener on Twitter at JoysticksPod from pal of the show, Jesse. He wants to hear your thoughts on the final shot of the 30th anniversary trailer. Could this be a foreshadowing? Do you know what game it ends on?
No.
Bloodborne.
Oh, God. Why'd you have to say that?
Why'd you go and say
Man,
that?
some live hot take from me. I am still of the opinion that Bloodborne is going to be a PS6 launch title the same way that they did it with Demon Souls. It doesn't make sense in my brain in any other way. Like, why would you wait till this point or whatever? So I don't know, because like I know in that they showed like Resistance was in there also. It's like they did definitely do. There were some games that were present in there that I don't think they have current plans for.
No.
I think it was much more of a like, hey, we're honoring it. So throwing Bloodborne in there, I would expect that. Ending on it is interesting, especially knowing how close they were going to, that they are to the Game Awards. So it'd be pretty fucking wild if Sony showed up with something like that. But
you're streamlining me perfectly here. Yeah, that was like my next question. Is like I know we predicted that Sony will have a game here in some form. We doubled down on Astrobot DLC, but we also said that something is going to be here, PlayStation wise, because they really don't have anything else to talk about.
What the fuck is Bluepoint working?
And again, it was December 3rd. The Game Awards are December 12th. I mean, we're still in that window, the grace period, that if there could be a 30th anniversary trailer of something for Sony to get you excited for next year.
Yeah. And I mean, I am at this point. Like, if they have a Bloodborne like remaster, I'm gonna be kind of mad, honestly. Like, even though 60 frames would be cool, but like, they've been waiting. It's been in the conversation for fucking 5 years now. I feel like a Bloodborne remake. So I don't know. I'm loath to say anything about it because there's not a crazy long list of games for me that like would get me to jump out of my seat. Nier Automata 2, Hades 2 got announced.
Last of Us,
but like I expect that to like eventually come.
Yeah.
Like I don't, I know there's.
Still, I think
I would jump out of my seat probably, but yeah, like a full on Bloodborne done in the way of, because Demon Souls remake still somehow looks like one of the best games on the console. So like, man, the ooze that environment, those environments would drip. And I know a couple of people who are like kind of, Will is one of them, just these reformed FromSoft people where it's like, oh, I missed Bloodborne. Well, don't play it now because it's 30 frames. Don't play it now. Wait for the thing that they're inevitably going to do because companies love money.
Right.
Just do they love money now? I don't know. What do you think
about what?
Bloodborne being in the thing. Do you think it's what are your?
I think that's just convenient timing.
Yeah.
I maybe it's a tease, maybe it's not. Again, a Bloodborne remake is like all but a sure thing to happen eventually.
Point, right.
Because again, there's no PC port of it as well. So it's happening. Is it happening soon enough to be announced in 3 days from now? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe there's just like a lot of things kind of happening behind the scenes, right? There's the Katakawa purchase that's potentially happening. So like, well, hey, like, maybe I don't know. Maybe they weren't going to say, or were going to say something, and now they're not because they were thinking about that. I don't know. I'm just talking as an.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
As an asshole that does a podcast in his spare time.
I mean, if a Bloodborne remake is announced, I mean, that's only going to raise the value of that company. I mean, their gaming division, again, as we talked about, they're more than just that. But yeah, I mean, your stock in From Software would go up because that game's going to do insane.
Oh yeah, yeah.
At least 10 million.
It is like funny. The Souls trajectory is just an interesting thing to analyze, like from a video game standpoint, where it's like they kind of came out of, this critical success out of nowhere with Demon Souls, Sony passing on it to publish it in the West, but it still gets its way over here, and then just riding this wave of, oh, what's Dark Souls? Oh, it's Demon Souls, but it's better. Oh, what's Bloodborne? It's Dark Souls, but better. So what's Sekiro? It's kind of like all this stuff, but really good, but not. And then Elden Ring just blasted it into another dimension. So like, what does From Software game sales look like after this? Because I think Elden Ring passed 25 million, which is bananas for an unapproachable game like that. So
right.
Yeah, Bloodborne remake, it's a surefire 10 million easy.
Right. So I guess again we'll know in a few days what PlayStation has planned as far as announcement wise. But let's continue. Like it's the 30th anniversary. Do you have like, you said how nostalgic the boot up sounds are. Do you have like specific PlayStation related memories growing up at all that you haven't discussed on this show?
That's the hard part. That's the hard part, Nick, because my memory of a goldfish, it doesn't hold up well. But So I guess what I'll say, and if I repeat myself, I apologize for listeners out there. But I was born in 1989. So the PS1 was definitely one of those first Christmas memories of like asking for the thing that you probably don't expect. You still believe in Santa Claus, so you're still magical about it all, and then it shows up, and you just kind of can't really. I had a Sega Genesis, but that was my first 3D game machine, and just the perfect timing of it all. Spyro was perfect for me. Crash was perfect for me. Even something like Parappa the Rapper just felt like it was catering towards me. But I never really dove in hard at it. I don't think any 6, 7, 8-year-old kid decides like I'm gonna play all these crazy JRPG games that the PS1 was so renowned for. But it fostered so many weekend, can I go to Blockbuster dads? Can I go just sit in the basement and play this game forever? I don't want to do my homework, and just like, those little moments that come with childhood of skirting responsibility and playing games for hours on end with your friends. I have some sleepover memories with Crash Team Racing specifically, because like multiplayer games maybe weren't that great for the PS1, but that was definitely one of them. And then just leading into the PS2, the PS2 was the system that sold me on it for life. Final Fantasy X and Gran Turismo 3 specifically, and then it's just every single. Just maybe take a step back real quick. A boss of ours asked a long time ago, "What is the greatest sound in the world?" I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I did.
And thinking about it, I was just like, the crack of a wood bat on a baseball. I love baseball. Things like that. And his answer was the startup noise for a PS1. I was like, that's the correct answer. Like, it really is just a powerful thing that transports. It's like when you smell something that you haven't smelled in 10 years. You just can go back to it immediately. And this was the same.
Yeah, I have a feeling, not just PlayStation, but any of the console boot up sounds, you'd probably nail all of them.
Oh, yeah.
They're so memorable, and you've heard them. It's almost like it's just trained in your brain. You've heard it thousands of times.
And that PS1, it's just that boom. Like it's like it feels like someone hit a gong, and it's just so warm and whole. Like it's just, and then the little ding 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 ding. At the end.
Whoever came up with that is
beautiful.
Genius. Maybe it was Shuhei, as we'll talk about him later.
Yeah, he was there.
I didn't own a PlayStation until the third one, so I would go over to friends to play the console, and I remember just always going for PlayStation 1 games. That's where I played the original Grand Theft Auto, Resident Evil 2, Metal Gear Solid.
I was about to ask, when did you play that?
I remember coming over and his mom being like, he's been waiting for you all day. And it's because he had Final Fantasy 7 and it was 3 discs. And we're like, what the hell? And that feeling of leaving, the opening city and just being like,
yeah, I didn't know games could do this.
Yeah.
And then you do the inevitable, like, it's so realistic. And then you get to this point, you're like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Right. Yeah.
NFL 2K1. Oh my God, it's Michael Vick.
And then same thing with PlayStation 2, just going over with buddies and just playing Vice City. Like, I think we played for like 10 hours straight. It was obnoxious.
Yep. I know. I have moments as a dad where I like get mad at Levi because he's been playing something for like 3 hours, and I go, that's nothing. Like, right. Like I think about it for a second and go, he'll be fine. I did 12-hour sessions every once in a while.
Right. It's
30 years, man. And it's just, in 30 years, I'll be my early or mid 60s. Like, am I still playing video games? What does it look like then? Obviously, I don't know if there probably won't be a bespoke console at that point, but
do you remember the old PlayStation ad? I think where they inhale it and then it
PS9.
Yeah. So there you go.
That'd be great. Hell yeah. But that's kind of what I'm saying, is just like you look at, I don't know, just Crash Bandicoot, and then you look at Demon's Souls remake and you go, huh? Like, what? So, I wouldn't, glad I jumped on this train, 30-ish years ago.
Yeah, it's like you said.
I don't know what would I be doing with my time if I didn't play it? Crazy.
Yeah, it's wild to think about. Just 30 years, and then leading into our next topic here, as a person who's leaving PlayStation after 31 years, is wild. John, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So my intro into this high level analyzing the industry, not just playing video games because they're fun, was listening to PS I Love You XOXO with Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. And I remember listening to them, and they would always talk about this Shuhei guy. And I learned to find out, I think partly is because Colin Moriarty is personal friends with him, but they would always talk about Shuhei Yoshida, who was basically like head PlayStation man. At one point, he was president, and then he led this indie initiative, and he was just always good vibes, good smiles, and just an overall good dude. And unfortunately, that same Shuhei Yoshida has announced his retirement from PlayStation. I don't think he has officially said he's going to be out of working, but like he's leaving the company. So did a little write up here, so just kind of bear with me for a second, just because I think I get more information out when I actually just read instead of riff.
You're good.
So on January 15th of next year, legendary PlayStation executive Shuhei Yoshida will be stepping down from the company after an illustrious 31 years. With 791 credits on 430 different games to his name, it's an understatement to say that Shuhei has had an impact on crafting and cultivating PlayStation and turning it into the behemoth that it is today. He was one of the initial members of Ken Kutaragi's, who is often referred to as the father of PlayStation, his team in 1993, eventually rising to executive producer on monumental PS1 games such as Crash 1, 2, 3, Gran Turismo, Spyro the Dragon, Ape Escape, Legend of Dragoon, Dark Cloud, and many, many more. Rising to VP of Product Development during the PS2 generation and continuing to climb until ultimately reaching the top of the mountain as president of Worldwide Studios in 2008, a position he held until 2019. And he is currently serving as the head of indie initiatives. And then a quote from Shuhei himself: "I've been with PlayStation from the beginning, and this is my 31st year with PlayStation. And when I hit 30 years, I was thinking, it may be about time for me to move on. You know, the company's been doing great. I love PS5. I love the games that are coming out on this platform. And we have new generations of management who I respect and admire. I am so excited about the future of PlayStation." While Shuhei did not say exactly what he'll be doing next, he did reply to a fan on Twitter saying that he would like to stay in the industry. So he's a legend, right? He is, when you think of the Mount Rushmore of PlayStation, Ken Kutaragi is definitely that George Washington type figure, but he could slot in as a Teddy Roosevelt.
Easily.
He could slot in as one of those guys. So, there's some people who kind of thought he's taken a couple demotions. Like I mentioned, he hit president in 2008, and now he's just doing head of indie initiatives, but he does genuinely strike me as that passion kind of guy,
right,
where he finds something that he wants to do and he just goes and does it. And he was like that guy that really, if you remember in the PS3 to PS4, when they started to really gain steam, PS Loves Indies, like that indie initiative, he really championed that. And he just seems to be an overall awesome guy. I think PlayStation Blog even had something that just like a header for his article that said like all good things or something like that.
Right.
He never had a scandal. He never did anything erroneous. He just seemed like a good dude. So when you hear Shuhei, Nick, what comes to mind for you? Because there's one big thing he did.
Yeah. Of course, it's how you share games on a PlayStation 4.
Savage.
At the time, at E3, when they would all go, the big dogs would all go the day before, Xbox pretty much put out a goose egg announcing an always online Xbox One.
Some people point to that as the moment.
And that you couldn't share games. And there's a lot more behind the scenes. Like at the time, GameStop was seen as a big threat because they were making all this money on used games, and this was kind of a way to deter that. And
my 30% rips. What am I going to do with my 30% rips?
Right. So there was pressure outside, and a lot of people think Sony was going to do the same thing, but that's not what happened in history. Sony the next day went ahead and made this 30-second
like
video
22 seconds.
between Shuhei and Adam Boyes with how you share a game on a PlayStation, and it was just him handing the physical copy to the other guy.
It's like this big produced thing, right? And they got the PlayStation graphics. Go step 1, and he just hands the game over and it ends.
Yeah, it had the feeling that it was shot really fast, but it worked perfectly, and it really, Shuhei is always been a popular guy. He's like John was saying, he's very humbled. It seems like every developer came out of the woodwork to say how great it was to work with him on their games. And like you listed his credits, he's on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games. He's like you said, he's one of the fathers of video games. When you've been in this very young industry for 31 years, you have left a significant impact, and I'm assuming he's going to continue to do so. He'll just be at some.
He's only 60.
Right.
Like,
He'll be at like A24 or some like smaller like.
Dude, just go be the Miyamoto of PlayStation. Miyamoto, he's always hanging around, just probably advising and just like, yeah, that looks good. Nah, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. Just do that. Just hang around. Like he just always seems so jolly.
Yeah.
He's a BAFTA Fellowship Award winner too, which is like that. They don't hand that shit out, man.
Yeah. What's that indie Nine Souls? He's on Twitter just all the time promoting Nine Souls of all games. He's just. So, he's like, this is like my favorite game of the year. He's like, I love this game, and it's just this small indie game that does look good, but yeah, he's a champion of video games.
Yeah. I mean, Polygon had an article. Shuhei Yoshida is the soul of PlayStation. I think I actually nailed it. All good things. A look back on Shuhei Yoshida's 31 years. So he will be missed, but I think you're right. I don't think this is the last we see of him. I don't think this is goodbye forever. I even saw something weird that he was interested in trying to get his voice acting career off the ground. It's like, all right, man, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, it just seems like if there was one Sony executive I could meet, I would want to meet him, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like every time, I guess, he comes, or at least when Colin Moriarty lived in California, every time they would always go out to dinner just one-on-one and just shoot the shit, and pretty dope.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Probably get all sorts of information.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, he was there before the brand was even a thing, Mm-hmm. So it's pretty wild, and good on him.
Pour one out for Shuhei.
On his future endeavors.
430. The amount of franchises that man has touched. It's great. Like, I wonder what he's not involved in.
Probably nothing. I mean, all the exclusives, I'm sure he had a hand on.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, a decent amount of these credits, I think, and it even breaks it down. They're like, he's in a lot of special thanks, right?
Yeah.
Which is just probably like, yeah, he helped, approve something to.
He gave us feedback. Or
right. And actually. You ever go to mobygames.com, Nick? It does really have like a lot of information in there. 340 games with Sony Interactive. 35 games with Audio Kinetica. But love you, Shu.
All right, let's move into our kind of super final topic, which is just game after game after game after game, as we teased at the start of the show here. Do you want to go first, Sean?
I was literally going to, do you want to break up your chunk, or do you want to just have it all go?
Whatever you feeling, man. If you really want to talk some Silent Hill.
No, you go first. Is
there a specific game you want to hear about first?
Yeah, let's do Nobody Wants to Die, because I don't really care all that much about it.
All right. Nobody Wants to Die is an indie game that came out earlier this year from Critical Hit Games. I believe it's sitting at a 77 on OpenCritic.
Okay.
It is a cyberpunk noir detective story. So it's kind of cyberpunky, but it's kind of the 1920s. Like, they have the similar vehicles, similar dress, flappers.
Looks like Bioshocky.
Yes, Bioshock is definitely a great comparison. Yeah, that same kind of vibe of Bioshock for sure. I did beat it, and I did get the platinum. It's about a 5-hour game in which you kind of just, it's pretty much an interactive story. You play in this first-person view, and you kind of investigate crime scenes and kind of like in the Batman Arkham games, kind of like use technology to recreate them. You can reconstruct crime scenes and kind of like, this bullet went at this angle, who shot it, and go back and kind of like figure all that out. This is
he loves it.
This is probably one of my worst platinums I'd say I have. It has, unfortunately, in a narrative heavy game like this, it has some of the worst voice acting / dialogue I've experienced in a while. I'm actually kind of shocked how high people were on in subreddits on this game, because it's just very corny. It's like the those old Gumshoes talk, like the city's a beast tonight. There's something in the air here. What is it? It's thick with murder,
of blood and ash.
Yeah, but not even like in a joking way. It takes itself seriously, and it does kind of have an interesting like start. Like these noir stories usually end up like a small town murder turns into like a big conspiracy, right? Like LA Noire and other video games like this, or just movies in general. But the payoff at the end is pretty weak. So it's just like all around, I'm just like, I could get the platinum in all in one playthrough, so that's good. But at the same time, I was pretty bummed out by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at reviews and whatnot here. It seems like a lot of people saying that it's just very formulaic, doesn't do really anything different than any other game does, but has pretty decent atmosphere. But that, yeah, you need to be into it for the setting and I guess if you
it's
like
very
just
pretty and
right.
there's some great art direction. Like the flying cars are a thing, so your guys just sitting out there hanging out, drinking as detectives do in noir stories, drinking all the time, and just great vistas and just some great like visual murder scenes, just like pretty spectacular. But
yeah, I kind of want you to spoil this game for me off air, because like yeah, it's like there's some weird lines where it's like it takes a weird path in its final stretch, but then this person says that it has very deep concerns to the world today and matches it in the game or something. I don't know.
Well, one of the big plot devices is nobody dies. When you die, you get your brain, which they have a really confusing word for it, but it's basically your soul, your brain, and then they just move you to a new body. And of course, they charge you for that body as well. So there's this whole dynamic of like class warfare. The poor versus the rich, because also in this world, the world requires you at 21 to register for a new body, and so you start your life in debt. So there's kind of just this kind of like bubbling undercurrent throughout looking through all these cases. But like I said, they don't stick the landing, so it's not even.
Okay, well, I wasn't gonna play it, so
yeah, it's $25, so it's on the pricier side of an indie game.
Does this team done any other games? Or is this their first? What did you say? Critical Hit?
Yeah, Critical Hit Games.
Okay.
They probably have, and it just was a smaller title. I wouldn't be shocked if they've had something else.
From Cleveland Heights, Ohio.
Oh.
Apparently this was their first.
Okay.
So, all right. Get better, Critical Hit. It's because you live in Ohio.
It's a good start. It's just
they
really got to nail the writing, and the world is interesting. They could do definitely more with it, but but also to get the platinum, I had to do the cloud save mechanic that you had to do with Elden Ring.
Yeah,
so that was my first time.
I don't like doing. I hate having to do that. I just always feel like I'm gonna fuck it up.
Well, it's another game I'm going to talk about does the same thing, but like come on, like why do you lock out people of like a major story decision at the end of the game and make them play the whole thing to see the next ending and the next ending? Like they can either watch it on YouTube or just make it more accessible.
It seems petty.
Yeah.
No, you can play this again because we made it.
Yeah. So, but I said I wanted to play it, try something different.
And your score?
Ooh, score. I'd probably go, probably a 7, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, that's how I was gonna say. I was gonna guess you were gonna say 6.
It's technically competent. It's just like I said. It's just the writing is just really bad. And then, like I said, if it just doesn't. I'm the story guy on the show. This game would not be for John in any capacity at all, because it's like I said, it's very linear.
Was it the
handholdy?
Was it the cyberpunk nature that drew you to it?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured. Dork.
And it looks good in a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like it like wants to be Deus Ex a little bit or something. I don't know. Like looks like immersive Simmy, but maybe this is just some of the screenshots.
And you do make choices in this. There is like dialogue, and you're forced to make choices. But I really don't think you make your big choice at the end, really. Yeah. And that determines the ending.
Well, I mean, IGN says its deep dialogue, trees, and unique touches almost managed to elevate it into something special. So,
sure.
So
I don't know what they were seeing that I didn't see. It's just dialogue is so bad. It's so bad, and especially toward the end, it got really, really bad, and I was just like, oh man,
get this over with.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's short. You got that.
And everyone's just a caricature. You're like the chief is just the caricature of a police chief with a
right, come over here.
Yeah, disobedient detective on his team. It's just it's just very rote.
That's one of my biggest issues with anything nowadays. Like it has to be unique in some way, right? And it doesn't have to. The whole thing doesn't need to be unique, but I need to approach it. And it's my number one Star Wars MCU issue. It's just I feel like I've seen this 14 times already, and so So, all right, well, we'll just wait for Cyberpunk 2078, or you will.
Oh my god. All right. It's kind of the bummer. I'm all excited for Witcher 4, but I would much rather they said
Really?
that Cyberpunk was the next game.
Your name is Geralt of Michigan.
Wow, just give me my PSN name on the air, huh?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, everybody who listens to this show has it. So, all right, whatever. No, that's interesting.
Well, Cyberpunk didn't exist. Maybe
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
know. Yeah.
I'd be Night City V or something.
Sure. Who's
All right. Well,
Judy? Judy? Was that the girl? Judy with the shaved head?
Yeah, Judy. Yeah.
Okay.
Judy Alvarez.
Pan Am?
Yep, Pan Am.
Trying to think of who else?
You had Johnny Silverhand. That's a pretty good name.
Nikki Silverhand. All right. What's next?
I don't know. What do you want next? What are you feeling?
Okay. Well, what's my list?
You got
Yeah.
Dragon Age Inquisition, Dragon Age the Veilguard,
Okay.
Life is Strange Double Exposure,
Okay.
Overwatch 2 / Marvel Rivals.
Get Dragon Age out of here. We'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, I've talked about Dragon Age on the show before. Do you have any questions now that I've completed and platinumed the game? Outside of the review.
No, I mean, I just want to see how it all stuck, how it all landed,
Okay.
And if it's something you'd recommend, I suppose.
So last time we talked about the game, I compared it to Fable a little bit as far as being very British and the humor in it. But I 100% think the design doc for this game was make Dragon Age like Mass Effect 3. 100% make it just like that. The same dialogue wheel, the same suicide mission at the end, getting your rep up with all the factions so they can join you in the big final fight, and then doing all the loyalty missions so when you bring your companions into this final mission, they will not die. And that's exactly what this is. So if you want to recreate the experience of Mass Effect 3, this is it. It is to a T Mass Effect 3, just not third-person combat. Well, if you're a mage or Arrow Ranger character, you can go into third person, but the same, everything's the same. Again, running with two companions, being able to use their abilities, combining abilities to cause chain reactions. It's Mass Effect 3 to a T. So that's kind of like a double-edged sword here,
Right.
because it's how long ago was Mass Effect? Just like we had the same talk about Starfield with Fallout. It's been 8 years. Games like Cyberpunk have come out. Games like Baldur's Gate 3 have come out.
Oh, you guys are out of ideas.
Yeah, so just think that in your head. You might have those ruby. What is the term? The rose-colored lenses of
rose-colored
what?
glasses,
Yeah, of
Rose-tinted?
what rose-tinted glasses that Mass Effect 3 was oh my god, it was so amazing and it was so great. But you bring that up into a modern game, you might think oh, Baldur's Gate was doing a lot of things that were more different and more exciting, and this is kind of just more of the same of what I want, or more of the same of what BioWare was known for. And again, I think Mass Effect 3 was 2013.
Yeah,
I think. So we're talking 11 years ago. A lot of things have changed, and so you might, like I said, it's kind of like a push and pull of oh, this is nostalgia, but also I want something new.
I think I might have some similar thoughts on some of my game stuff.
And then the only other thing I want to talk about is just really the biggest weakness to it is really just the enemies. They kind of recycle. Again, this game is 60 to 70 hours if you're doing all the missions, doing all the side quests, and you're going to see the same Venatori, Blighted, Demons, and Mercenaries, and over and over and over again, to the point where I love modern game design. I just bumped it down to story so I could just blow through all that stuff so I could just get to all the story beats, because I was just burning out. I'm I can't just do another combat encounter with the same enemies over and over again. So that's kind of the weakness, but everything else is great. Characters are great. All the unique loot is great. Again, if you're looking for a Mass Effect 3 experience, this is it.
Should it have been nominated for Game of the Year? Should have been one of the 6.
Yeah, over
Without
Black Myth Wukong.
Well, I mean Wukong or the DLC, whatever, however you feel about DLC.
I think it got a little bit of a rub. I think it only got for like accessibility in gaming. I don't even think it got like best RPG or any of its voice cast got nominated. Which
the fact that it didn't get nominated for best RPG is pretty wild.
And I know it was kind of the tail end, right? It was one of the later games to come out like before. I don't know what we don't know what the deadlines were for the Game Awards. Indiana Jones is going to be on next year's because it's too late.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it probably would at least deserve some voice noms and maybe an RPG nom. But
I mean, the RPG. I mean, looking at it, you got Elden Ring, I guess, Rebirth, Metaphor, Infinite Wealth, and Dragon's Dogma 2. And then you also have Reloaded, Unicorn Overlord, Dragon Quest 3, Wukong's not an RPG. Man, this person doesn't even throw Dragon Age in there. Man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's very nostalgic to its detriment. Like it should have tried something a little bit more new. But again, BioWare is coming off some goose eggs, so
I was about to say,
maybe
it sounds like it at least bought BioWare some time.
Right the ship. Let's get going on Mass Effect 4, and maybe that's their premier franchise. Because Dragon Age has always been weird. It's always been like the Dragon Age Origins was a lot like a Baldur's Gate game. Like that was obviously the design doc, and it's kind of moved away from that and moved closer and closer to this game where it is just the fantasy Mass Effect game. So and I think Mass Effect is the premier BioWare franchise anyway. So maybe that is where they'll take some risks. That is where they'll change some things.
Do you think they should make Mass Effect 4 or just reboot the series?
Well, their teaser was a Mass Effect 4. Like it had Liara in it. It had the Normandy.
They also said this game was going to be called Dreadwolf.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's another thing that I'm glad you mentioned that. Like if there's any lingering plot threads from the original 3 games gets resolved here. So if you were interested in the gods and the Chantry and all those kind of other elements that are in the Dragon Age lore, they get resolved in this game. So it is worth it to play it at some point. Okay. For if you ever want to know who was Flemeth in the Dragon Age universe.
Flemeth. Oh yeah, that guy. Flemeth.
It's a girl, but
oh yeah.
But so yeah, I'm glad I played it. I had a good time with it.
She looks evil.
The hair effects are incredible for this game. Like the one thing I can guarantee about Mass Effect is going to have great hair. Frostbite engine is really great about hair. But yeah, it's not the best experience, it's not the worst experience. I think it is right where it needs to be, and that's an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
And it's at an 81 right now. So.
All right.
But I would be excited for Mass Effect 4.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they can do a lot with that now.
All right. BioWare on the upswing, it seems.
Yeah. That's the good news of all of this.
All right. Well, we're gonna lead into my game just because it seems like some of the theming is a little similar. So, I was able to beat Silent Hill 2 over the weekend. So I did not platinum it. I don't remember what it requires, but I just
lots of playthroughs. There's like 8 or 9 different endings.
It almost has some sort of Resident Evil type trophy system, which we don't want to play these games 7 times. But so what I previously said about this game, incredible atmosphere, incredible tension, that gross type of horror, not the campy type of horror that you would get from a Resident Evil, but like, oh, this is just a bad place and I don't want to be here anymore. And incredibly scary. So the trajectory I would say I have of this game, it was a steady decline.
You rolled down that Silent Hill?
I rolled down the hill a little bit. Not a lot, right? I think that this game has a ton of strong points for it. As I got further and further and further into it, it just started to wear on me in a couple different ways. Specifically, and this is a pretty true to form remake. There, you can get into different windows and into cars and things you couldn't have gotten in the first game. But in terms of the beat by beat story and just the way that they're going to play it, it's pretty true to form. So, you get a pistol, a shotgun, and a rifle, right? There's not a ton of different enemies. The environments you're exploring, it's like, okay, this is an apartment building, this is a hotel, this is a prison. They're all they're a couple different floors. And just by the end of all of that, I found myself just kind of wanting it to be done, right? Because like any type of horror experience, it could be the scariest fucking thing in the world. If you spend 15 hours in it, you kind of start to become desensitized towards it a little bit. So my statement that it's the scariest game ever made from last time I talked about it, I don't know if I'm able to say that because, like I said, like just the mannequins wore out a little bit, but there are still some top tier, like when you get to the prison, and this is why I'm mad at you for not playing this game with headphones on. When you get to the prison, and there's these little mannequin dolls that act like spiders and just go along the walls and skitter around.
And there's really high ceilings.
You can't see them all the time, and they move really fast if they're going to attack you. That was a nightmare with headphones on. Like I was just, it was, I think you experienced this too. It's like I found myself playing this game in like 30-minute to 1 hour chunks because it gets a little oppressive. It gets a little, you're just like, all right, that's enough for today. That one, I think I did the whole thing straight because I was like, I just got to get out of here. I don't want to be in here anymore. It's top notch audio design. And for just in case people aren't getting this, everything I'm saying is I love it, right? Like I want that.
Yeah.
That's what I want in a horror game. I want to feel uneasy, but I just, similar to your getting into combat encounters with people and just kind of like, I can't do this again. It's just like, okay, I have my pipe. I'm just going to hit you a couple times. The dodge is pretty forgiving, so like I'll just dodge a little bit and then I'll finish you off and I'll collect all my ammo that I'm going to blow through with the boss fights and not really deal with it a lot with anybody else. And it just got a little bit grating. And again, like you start with an apartment building and you're going through and you got to collect these 3 different things to unlock this thing, and then you do the thing and then that unlocks the thing, and then and it's just every single place plays out that way.
Well, and also that there's the regular version of the place and then the weird fucked up version of the same place that you go through again,
right,
on top of that.
So by the time I don't know, there's the apartment, a prison, a hotel, hospital. Every single one of those, by the time I was like in the other, I was like, I want to get back into town, and like it just kind of, the pacing felt a little slow, perhaps. But for what it was going for, I think it did nail it. Bloober Team did effectively bring this game from 1999, 2001, something like that, and brought it into 2024. For fans of that original game, I can't imagine you'd be upset with this in any way, shape, or form. Did a really, really good job. I don't know. I was kind of expecting the story to land a little bit harder, and that could potentially be because I watched a playthrough of it, so I knew where it was going. But even so, even if I did, I felt like kind of the final payoff, I don't know, because it was like, well, you did the thing that you did, but like, was it a bad or a good decision to do it? I don't know. It just never hit me as hard as I felt like I wanted to be hit. With any sort of emotional payoff. So I'm happy I played it. I think it was maybe a little smidge too long. My play clocks are always fucked up. So your time said 17 hours. Mine said 29. That's just bananas. There's no way I took 29 hours to play through it. So I don't know. I would say it's probably a good 15-hour game. And I recommend it. But I walk away with it with an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I think there's a lot to love there.
Well, now you have to rank the 2s.
I got to rank the 2s.
Yeah.
So
you haven't played Alan Wake 2, so we'll leave that off.
So I got Resident Evil 2, Silent Hill 2.
Dead Space. Oh, you haven't played Dead Space 2, have you?
I think I have, but I couldn't rank it. Okay. Well, for right now, Resident Evil 2 is better.
Okay.
Resident Evil 2 Remake, I think it's just more video gamey, right? It's. I would understand if somebody says Silent Hill 2, I prefer. I would understand if somebody says Resident Evil. I just like a little bit more, like even in this game.
Fast and Furious.
Throwing balls at Nick right now. It's not my balls, but I had a ball in my hand because I hate Fast and Furious. But no, I think it's like just a little more like. There's no headshots in Silent Hill 2, right? Like, it's just kind of like it takes a lot of the play, I feel like, out of my hands, as opposed to, because like part of the fun of Resident Evil is like you get the pistol, then you get this thing, then you get the shotgun. Oh fuck, I got a semi-automatic now. Like nobody can, and there are parts of me I think I've spoken on this show saying that you get to the end of a horror game and you feel like you're John Wick all of a sudden, like, and that bugs me. So maybe I'm just a complainy fucking asshole. I don't know, but you know, but again, I would recommend Silent Hill 2 if you're interested in it. I think it's Bloober Team did a good job.
Would you be interested in like a new story, maybe like you said, more mechanics?
Yeah.
Added to it.
If you can marry the environmental aspects, the audio, the creepiness of it all with some more modern gameplay mechanics and just flesh that out, yeah, absolutely. I think it could be really, really cool. Yeah, just I don't know, like it. I was expecting the story to just hit me harder. I don't know why it didn't. I'm dead.
You're expecting it. It was more of a shock to me, like the final reveal. Of why he's there.
Yeah. I do just really like that premise too, that like this is just this like mysterious purgatory type town where just people who have done some not so good things kind of go, or not so good things happen to them.
Right. Just guilt ridden.
Yeah, that they just go and just like that's what I mean about the oppressiveness. The like this isn't Friday the 13th 7. This is Hereditary. This is I don't know, not good, but in a good way. So,
okay. Yeah. Now I'm a little bummed. You know, you're not as high on as I thought you would be, because I thought, like, given it's more toward your tone of movies, that you would like it more. But I do agree with everything you've said.
Yeah,
I think, like you said, that final little quote unquote dungeon. It's not an actual dungeon, but the final like setting. You're like, really? There's one more? Like, oh man.
Did you think when you were rowing across the lake that something was wrong? I'm like, how long am I going to be rowing across this lake? Like, I paused and looked, and I was like, no, just keep going. Okay. There's a part late in the game you have to row across a lake to get to another place, and it takes legit 3 minutes of just like gray fog and nothing. I think there's a trophy
for it too, for sitting on it for so long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then I don't think the voice actor for James should win the award if he does. He was fine. He was good. He was okay.
Yeah, I don't think he had the most.
He didn't. He didn't have. Yeah, for sure. That's my.
Yeah, there was not a lot of dialogue.
Right.
It was pretty lonely in that time.
Oh, I'm sad, and now I'm scared, and now I'm sad again.
Yeah. And then I'm confused.
Yep.
All right, so we got two more left. 2 more games left.
Do it up, buddy.
All right. Let's talk about the more pertinent one here. Well, I guess they're both, but when I had this time off, I had time to myself. Overwatch was running this promotion where they were doing Overwatch Classic. You could play the game as it existed when it launched back in 2016, all the same abilities, 6v6, all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? Sure, that sounds great. You know, because I haven't played Overwatch 2 in a while, and every time I go into it, I get frustrated because there's just so many characters. Everyone's been changed and moved around. It's 5v5. You have to roll queue, which is annoying.
What does that mean?
So you have to, when you go to queue for a match, you have to say, I'm a tank. I'm a support.
Roll as in ROLE.
Yeah.
ROLL. Got it.
I'm a DPS. Yeah. So, which in original Overwatch, the only rule was you couldn't be
same character,
right? You could have, most people should be running 2v2v2, 2 tanks, 2 supports, 2 DPSs.
So let me ask you, why do you not like that? This is from a non-Overwatch guy. Shouldn't that cause balance, to be then balanced?
Oh, I'm sure it is in some way. It just doesn't. It just
feels bad.
A lot of these live service games, and we're going to talk so many just released this week between Path of Exile 2, Infinity Nikki, and Marvel Rivals, that it's just intimidating to get into these games. Like when you don't know what's going on, you weren't there day one when there was only, I think, 21 starting characters for Overwatch. And now it's, close to 40 and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And it feels good because that game, it was game of the year that year. It feels good to play. All the characters' moves, their abilities. It was just a giant nostalgia trip. The voice acting is great. The play of the game is one of the coolest things in all of video games. Like a replay of a really great play someone made. In fact, when I got it, I was giddy. Like playing Reinhardt. Me. I was playing Reinhardt. And I'm like, as Reinhardt, I got play of the game, and it was pretty sweet play of the game. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just a good feeling. I'm surprised more games don't focus in on that. Like
Black Ops 6 has it.
a play of the game, not just the final kill. I know like Call of Duty for the longest time.
Yeah, there's no final kill anymore. It's just play of the game.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's a good thing to steal, and I guess they're same company, so they're not really stealing it. But
There you go.
yeah, and then that event ended like 4 days into like my vacation, and I was
they
like,
30th anniversary deal, huh?
yeah, and then so they took it away, and I'm like, okay, well, let me go try and just play Overwatch, and I'm like, this ain't doing it for me. Like I can't do it. This game's not for me. But it also led to a very the thing in my mind is like, oh, in a few days, Marvel Rivals, the Marvel Overwatch equivalent, is launching, and maybe I should go check that out. And I did. Again, it's free to play. It's out, on every platform. So if you're interested, you can play it. It's not on Switch, but it basically is Marvel meets Overwatch. Launching with like 33 characters. The game runs fantastic. I had no issues on launch day and launch weekend, even Saturday night playing the game. And it's just Overwatch. It's that same feeling. It's 6v6. The only really difference in this is that like it's third person and that characters actually fly. Like you'll be in a match and you'll look up and Storm or Iron Man are 300 feet in the air above you, just it's raining stuff down on you, and you have to deal with that. So it makes the game more interesting from a lane standpoint, because now there's more verticality to your matches. And even characters like Spider-Man, like he controls right out of like an Insomniac Spider-Man game. Like I don't know how people like have the reflexes to twitch around and go around with him and web and swing and web away and come back. It's like watching someone play it gives you a seizure. It's so crazy. So for like a launch free-to-play game, and also the microtransactions are within reason. Well,
yeah, careful.
I don't know what happened, but I don't know when like a skin started costing, more than $5, but they're now like at minimum $16 to $30 for a skin and probably like a voice liner and all that. Like I know that's like it's skyrocketing in all the free to play games. Like skin prices are just jumping up, and maybe that's either
It's Joe Biden's fault.
you get the whales more hooked, or just the rising cost of running a live service game. This is where they're going to get you is try to get you in the skins that you really want desperately. But yeah, I was just like looking at one skin. I'm like, oh, it's $16 for one skin.
Nope. I almost kind of appreciate that for me, because I can just go, nope. Like it's not even a question.
Diablo 4 is the same way. It was like looking at the skins. I'm like, oh, that's cool. No, I would never pay that for just a skin. Especially like at least this has the zero cost of entry. Yeah, I meant to talk about its battle pass. Its battle pass is the same as Helldivers, so you don't.
Oh, good.
They don't ever go away. They just exist. You
Nice.
buy into it, and then you can just work on it at your leisure. So if you're like a John over here with no time, you can at least eventually get there. You're not pressed to like, oh, I got to get it done by December 31st, or I'm going to lose out on this battle pass. So I appreciate that. But yeah, it's just chaotic. It's like 6v6.
I'm watching it right now.
So
Not for me.
but I will say they make like I don't play like close range characters or the real like a Black Widow, a sniper character with really good hand-eye coordination. I usually either go to like a support, which in this is a strategist, or the tanky characters like the Vanguard in this. And
Is Venom a tank?
Yep, Venom is a tank. That I do appreciate they make those characters feel good to play. Like all the healers feel really good to play. You feel like you can do enough damage and healing, and it's not overwhelming, or you're just the healer when you're playing. You can if your team's good to go, you can actually deal out some significant damage with these characters. So I really appreciate that, and got a couple MVPs myself.
Oh, look
Humble
at you.
brag.
Oh, man.
As a healer, so
Watch out, ladies. Watch out. MVP over here.
but that being said, I don't have a social group to play this game, so
Yeah.
I think that would change everything, because even like Overwatch Classic, where the game's been out for 8 years and people don't know what a team comp should be, and same with this. Like, it does suggest to you what role you should pick based on what everyone else has picked, but people are just. And then this was opening weekend. I'm not gonna the Marvel Rivals opening weekend. I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, you guys aren't playing the optimal team comp, but without a group, you're just kind of like you're playing a lot of very swingy games.
Ooh, I like Hella. Hella looks cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a cool character.
I'm Hella.
And the art direction is great. All those characters look really cool. Like I said, if they can get some more of my favorite X-Men characters in there,
Cyclops, that's your boy.
Yeah,
That's your one.
I'd play a lot more.
I would be surprised if he doesn't. Like, why would you not?
Some of the characters have leaked, and they're definitely leaning on what the MCU is looking to do. Like, all the Fantastic Four are supposedly going to be coming next year.
So give it a year,
right?
And then you should get all the X-Men.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be there eventually. And there are X-Men coming in the leak, but they're just not.
Right. Use it as a marketing ploy in some way, shape, or form. I get that.
But it's good on like NetEase. I don't think reviews have come out because it's kind of everyone's just getting a feel for it. But to launch a live service game without any issue and just like I said, opening weekend, be able to get.
You should see if I don't know if you want to open this can of worms or not, but I'm sure there's a couple guys at work that would be interested to play with you. I'm thinking of one specific who we actually enjoy playing games with, but.
Yeah, we'll see. It might just be something that I pop in and just play casually, just because I'm just like all this Marvel stuff. Give me more,
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, I can't believe they launched this thing so successfully, and it seems like it's gotten a decent amount of players right now.
You hear that, Microsoft? Figure it out. I had Microsoft Flight Simulator in my fucking league, and it would have won for me. But no, couldn't launch that. Fine. We didn't think people would want to fly.
But I just don't. I don't know how. Like, who's got time for all these live service games? Like I mentioned, another 3 launched this week. Another one, that Project Mugen, which is I think Anaterra now.
Bad name, by the way.
I was showing you the Players' Choice Awards for the Game Awards, which included another one, Wolverine Waves.
Wuthering Waves.
Wolverine Waves, which is joining Zenless Zone Zero and all the other gacha games. With there's like so many of them now.
Unreal, man.
That I just don't get how people find the time to play any of these. Like, you get to pick one. Like
Yeah. I mean, but Infinity Nikki passed 10 million downloads. Marvel Rivals passed 10 million downloads. Like, but then our boy Astrobot sells 1.5 million copies, and it's just like, God damn, man. Like,
well, I mean, a lot more platforms for those other games.
It's the platforms. It's the
free.
the age, right? A lot of these are kids that don't have income or don't, their parents aren't giving them what they want. But give your kids what they want, all right? I don't know, man. I still, to this day, struggle with my friend texting me to play Rocket League, and now he texts me to play Call of Duty. And both times, it's just like, no, I got to play Silent Hill. Sorry. But, I mean, there's a obvious financial benefit towards them.
Yeah, it just as I'm shocked Foam Stars is still around. And I'm curious, a year from now, if all these will be here, or
they won't.
If there's a market for 10 anime gacha games,
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine Marvel Rivals will be one of these ones that sticks around forever, I think. Infinity Nikki, people seem to be real high on that, but I don't know. Like, a Wuthering. Who is playing Wuthering Waves?
I don't know.
Like, is it just some weird region in China that it just caught on? Like, right? Like, China's crazy, and we actually talked about the population of China and India on the last podcast, I believe.
Yes.
But there's just like, I think over 100 cities that have over 1 million people or something like that, and the United States has like 20. So it's just, I wonder if there's just like these regions or these environments that's like, this is just really popular here. Or,
right.
I don't know. Like, it's just.
But
it's
are
just
you playing Genshin Impact, and you're playing Genshin Impact, and you're like, oh, Wuthering Waves is out. Let me go
No,
check
that's what
that
I'm
out.
saying, though, is like, well, no, like this area
you're
of
just
China,
saying,
we play
I see
Wuthering
what
Waves, and then this area of China, like, no, we do Genshin, and then Genshin also does like a worldwide. I don't know. I am
We're just
talking out of my ass.
We're leading to the gacha game wars.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how they make it work, but they make it work.
Yeah.
Just Concord didn't make it work.
No, unfortunately not.
That's wild. Wild how bad that game did. My God.
We couldn't predict it.
Nope, nobody did. All right, what's the last one?
Life is Strange Double Exposure. I just started playing it. I'm 2 chapters in. I'm in the 3rd chapter, yeah.
That's usually 2. 3 usually comes after 2.
Sorry, I'm exhausted.
No, that's fine.
It's a game from Deck 9, not Don't Nod. Deck 9, who made Life is Strange True Colors. Don't Nod is currently working on Lost and Record, Bloom and Rage.
They did Before the Storm, too, didn't they?
Yes, Deck 9 did Before the Storm as well. They seem to have taken over the Life is Strange franchise, and then, again, this is the direct sequel to the original game, Life is Strange, because you're replaying the character Max Caulfield, who was the protagonist of the first game. And also, that actress, Hannah Telle, is nominated for a Best Performance Award at the Game Awards. Okay. So far, yes, he's very good. Max is a very, very likable character, and definitely the performance has a huge reason why that is. Not much to say. Again, it's another game where they're going to force me, if I want the platinum, to play through the entire game again.
Really? Usually these ones don't do that.
No, they don't. Because of a choice at the beginning of the game where you have to decide what you did in the very, very first game, which ended on this big, giant choice. So you have to choose which one that is and then play through the game twice. We'll see if I do that after one playthrough. But as far as I know, that's all you have to do is choose the other option, play through the entire game, and you're good to go to get the platinum. But we'll see. But there's not really much more to talk about it. These are narrative-driven games. You're making choices, and you'll get a little thing that says this is going to affect the story later. And the big mechanic in this world is it centers around a character's death. And there's a world where the character died, and there's a world where the character didn't. And you're kind of traversing both those worlds to figure out why she died in the world that she died.
Is it the character I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
Okay. Look into my brain.
Yeah, I don't know. This game didn't review very well. I think it was like 71.
71.
Yep.
Game Rant gave it a 5, and then IGN gave it a 9. So, all over the board.
Okay. So we'll see. It must have something to do with the story, of course. But so far, I'm liking it. I like Life is Strange. I like how it's told in chapters. I like how the chapters usually end on like a big, like, oh, fuck moment. And this one has that in spades. Again, after dealing with, a 60, 70-hour RPG, these have been great. Even though I didn't like Nobody Wants to Die, and I'm enjoying this so far. They're just a nice change of pace, and when I'm mixing in Marvel Rivals. So.
Looking at Max as a character, you remember how earlier I said Haley Steinfeld seems to be that prototype for like badass lead chick? Like she seems like she'd be voiced by Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she definitely has the Gwen Stacy of the Spider-Verse movies kind of feel. That just girl next door, but cool character.
Right.
So
type of chick you want to date for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, and in this game, everyone wants to date her too. So
look at
that. Yeah, you have like a couple of romance options.
Ooh, a couple of suitors.
Yes.
Now, wait. Just to try and get to the bottom of this 5, are any of them girls?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There it is. Found it.
In the original game, the Chloe was the
Chloe.
Romance. Yeah, Chloe. Yeah.
Were they? I thought they were just friends. Maybe I missed it.
No, you can. That's definitely a romance option.
Who voiced?
Is Ashley Birch in the original?
Okay, I was about to say I know it's somebody of note,
and it is not in this game. And Before the Storm,
and it shows.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, we love Ashley Birch.
That's true.
But no. So like I said, I'm about halfway through it, so I'll have more to say in a couple episodes from now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all I got.
All right, dude. Well, I guess I got to catch up. Nick's gonna have a really robust game of the year list. I'm gonna have about 4 games. So.
Yeah, I like the running joke is I've picked. I think every game of the year has been a game from not that year, and this year it most certainly will be. I have 18 2024 games right now.
Right, and knowing the games you've talked about this year, I would imagine your top 2 games are from this year. I would think. You ever gonna play Balatro though?
I have it on my phone.
Well, are you going to have an opinion at the end of the year or not?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
I mean, so the next episode is the Game Awards. It will, by all accounts, it sounds like it's going to be big. It's the 10th one. Keeley is, he's keeping his cards close to his chest on this one. We do know that.
Did you know that the phrase is close to your vest?
Close to your vest.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm just sorry. My brain does that. Sorry.
We already know Borderlands 4 will be there. Mafia: The Old Country will be there.
Boo.
Tekken 8, a new character will be there.
Boo.
and that's it. All we know is the celebrity appearances other than that. But expect this show to cover the entire 3-hour thing as we've done the past 2 years, as we go over all the individual announcements, all the world premieres.
Talk about why is Christopher Judge still talking? Why is he still going?
He's not a presenter, I don't think, this year, so hopefully he'll...
No, well, you also can't reuse that joke again. Like, last year was great.
Right.
But
right. You can't make that dig at Call of Duty.
Right. Right. I forgot about that.
So yeah, that's the plan. The plan is to hopefully have that episode up immediately after the Game Awards, because I don't know, I'm gonna be excited. I'm jonesing.
Yeah. No.
Really
Yeah. I
wanna
mean, we there's just seems like there's so much known about next year, but so little known about next year. So I don't know. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, and everyone says it's gonna be. It feels like the vibe is bigger, like the insiders.
I was about to say who's everyone,
but it makes sense. Like we've teased on this show, next year is gonna be huge for video games, and it's the 10th one. I think everyone's gonna want to. There's gonna be all eyes on this thing. So, and the viewership has only gotten bigger year after year. So,
expect lots of ads. Just get that out of the way now. And we're not gonna come on here and bitch about the ads. Expect them to be horrible. They will.
We might confuse those ads with the actual world premiere announcements,
right?
But
we won't be the only ones.
No. But all right. Well, aside from that, John, you're done with Silent Hill 2. On the next proper episode, what's next? What are you looking forward to?
It's a tough question. I've spent some time trying to figure that out. I was going to bring the wheel to the show today, but I didn't want to deal with that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm planning. I tried Rebirth again.
Oh, yeah.
And I am not in the mindset to do a thing that big. I'm just not.
Fair enough.
So I've planted my flag to clean up my From Software misses and finally try to beat Sekiro.
Wow.
Yeah, so I bought that over on Black Friday. It was half off. I had it on disc. My disc failed me for some reason, so I got it digitally. And yeah, I mean, FromSoft is just comfort food for me. So like immediately, I didn't have to worry about how do I play this, how do I do this.
Sure.
I've jumped into this game also in the past, so knew that it wasn't gonna be an issue with that. But I did get what's the phrase when you get like filtered? I got filtered.
Yeah.
Because I am not typically a parry guy. When I played Souls games, I get my big beefy shield and I let it do most of the work. I'm not dodging around a lot. I have to in Bloodborne, but I'm using that shield. So needing to rely solely on parrying is tough for me. But I think I can get there.
Yeah, a learning curve.
I just know that final boss, man. I'm still terrified of that final boss because like as somebody who went through the Elden Ring DLC, and they're like, yeah, he's like the second hardest FromSoft boss, and I go, excuse me,
right?
Just makes me a little nervous, but so yeah, I am trying that one, and then I always got my little side piece, but Blasphemous 2 was another one that I purchased a little bit ago. So if I'm not feeling like getting my ass kicked by Lady Butterfly or the Headless Ape or whatever crazy boss I'm going to encounter, might chip away at that a little bit. So
okay. And then by the time our next normal episode is out, it's PS Plus wrap-up time.
Yeah.
And that's always a great time. Again, if you game on a PlayStation, we are going to ask for you to write in your PS Plus wrap-up so we can see who won 2024 in terms of hours played, platinums, the whole nine, and just kind of see everyone's most played games.
Am I going to be allowed to defend myself, or are you not going to hear any of it?
I mean, we'll always have to put the asterisk next to your name because you refuse to give your son his own account.
We went over this, Nick. We went over
So, but that's another episode from now. Like I said, I mean, after next time you hear from us, it'll be post Game Awards. We might be very happy, John. You might be very.
I sure
happy.
hope so. I need some happiness. I will say, just as a end note here, because I'd feel loath to not mention it on the podcast. Dude, Arcane is so good.
I'm glad.
Arcane is dope. I finished the first season over the weekend, and so going into season 2 right now, it's better than it has any right to be. So that, and then I also wanted to mention real quick. What do you any quick thoughts on indie being pretty awesome? Apparently, any quick thoughts on that or?
No, I mean, obviously we as PlayStation people, we won't be playing it till next year, but I'm happy. This is no easy task, creating a game based on a beloved franchise like Indiana Jones. But, if anyone seemed up to the task, it's Machine Games, who has made Nazi killing games before. So
I think that's one of my bigger takeaways is like, why did I doubt Machine Games, I guess?
They're kind of like...
And they had Youngblood, which wasn't great, but I don't know. Yeah, it's from what I've read, it seemingly does for the Indiana franchise what the Spider-Man video game did, which was tell a story that's true to the character in a medium that enhances it. And I'm all of a sudden it seems like that and Avowed are like, maybe those ones are good. Maybe I shouldn't.
That's a topic for another time. But I mean, like, and I'm sure it might come up in the Game Awards as well, is that Xbox is on the upturn. That they're not only
Call of Duty. Indie, Avowed seems to be okay. Yeah.
That that as a publisher, covering again technically it's Bethesda, but it's they're hitting.
Yeah, I mean
right when they need to be hitting.
And you get a Fable, that's good. And if you get a couple things landing,
yep.
Baby, you got a stew going. Was that Arrested Development? Is that Carl Weathers in Arrested Development?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, baby, stew going. Because he just plays himself in that show.
Yes, he's just himself.
So weird. He's always looking for a deal. All right,
John. That's it, man. A nice meaty podcast to catch us up to before the Game Awards. But did you pick a song?
I did. I didn't until about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we're going to go with the Sekiro Shadows Die Twice theme song from Yuka Kitamura, who's a very cute Japanese violinist.
Okay.
So, but yes, I mean, it's a feudal Japan game, so it's got that flair to it, of course.
I like it. I dig it.
Yes, but Sekiro, a former Game Awards Game of the Year winner.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Also can tie it into our next show. So, All right, enjoy the song. We thank you for listening. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Rate us on your platform of choice. And when we see you next, we'll be talking the Game Awards. Get hyped. Woo! Bye-bye.
See you.